Hey there guys, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I kind of enjoy doing speed clears on content. So we're going to be going to Pedarge, getting a rank 1 clear as fast as I possibly can. We're going to be doing a 5-turn rank 1 on Pedarge. This is the party we're going to use. Let's get in here and get into it. And just for fun, I'll put a turn chart in the comments if you really want to copy it. That being said, this is kind of a show-off clear, so it's not easy to replicate, you know, pretty high-end. But it is fun to show off every now and then, and we're going to attempt to do that right now. So the hardest thing is getting morale that quickly. So we're using a bunch of morale units. For example, Rain and Melissa are really good at filling the morale gauge. So Melissa will immunity, chronic, and minutes of might. We're going to have Elena do cover, Shelga, and Sanctuary for the racial mitigation. Rain will start in the base for some auto buffing and then go to the shift. We're going to break and then hit twice. We're going to have Rick do his light within, because that gives a bunch of morale and double bolting. Malphasy in the base form will end Aroga. We're going to do strong headwinds for the morale gain. Also, it allows us to not bother with Mirage on turn 1. Then we're going to do As the Crow Flies and bolting. And 2B in the shift form will triple Human Killer because it fills the morale gauge. So we're going to send Rain, then send the rest. The first 2 turns are, of course, not really going to be for damage. They're just a setup. We're going to start dealing real damage beginning on turn 3. But as you can see, with all the stuff we're doing, we're blowing all our cooldowns right away in the beginning of the fight. We're filling that morale gauge very quickly. We should have a maxed morale gauge by the end of the second turn. We're absorbing the wind damage on turn 1, which again makes it easier. You know, we're really just blowing all our big stuff right away in this fight. Because, again, we're trying to do it quickly, and that's the whole goal here. So now, Elena will do Brisk Daybreak, because it fills the morale gauge a whole lot. We're going to put up her field, and then whiff this power, only because that fills the morale gauge. Rick is going to shift here. We're going to do Leading Legend for the Weapon in Perils, Radiant for the Break and Dispel, and then a Bolting. We're going to have Flaring Rain, just do a triple Bolting Strike. We're going to have 2B, do a just, morale fill, and then a Void for the Mirage. Melissa will LB, and we're going to target herself to reduce her seconds cooldown for turn 5. We're going to shift Malphasy and do all the wind stuff in the shift form. So we're going to field both the killers and then just hit the boss with bolting. So we'll go ahead and do this. And there we go. Again, the real damage begins on turn 3, but we're still pushing through that buff with even as it was. Anyway, turn 2, morale gauge maximized. On turn 3, the boss will not have his buffs, so we can start dealing damage, although we're still not finished setting up. Again, the real damage comes on turn 4, and then turn 5 is going to be some big boy damage. Okay, so turn 3. We're going to, again, get ready for bursting. We're going to do the first big burst next turn. So Melissa is just going to use Fairy Rune on Malphasy. That's a fairy killer from Ihana. 2B will go to the base form and just triple R40 just to help deal some damage here. We're going to use Malphasy to, again, continue setting up. We're going to start the Ramping Amplify, Skilled for the mod buff. We're going to Aerial to deal a little bit of damage, and then 150 amp herself. Elena will double bolting and Omni cover for this turn, because this turn is going to hurt a little bit. Rain will use Grace to get ready for the next few turns of bursting, a bigger LB damage buff, double pulverizing. And Rick on this turn can just triple bolting. I guess it's actually more damage to do his LB. Let me change my turn chart. I didn't even realize that, but actually, yeah, that is more damage to do his LB. Okay. So we're going to do this first, then we're going to have Malphasy do this, and then chain all the rest up. If we push the threshold, great. If we don't, who cares? It doesn't really matter, honestly. Either way is fine. Okay, so that means Melissa's getting ejected. We don't care. We're Omni covering, so all the physical stuff is going to hit Elena. But with Omni Cover and 90% mitigation, it's fine. It's going to hurt a little bit. Not too bad. We should be fine here. Okay, so now Melissa comes back. Okay, so now we're going to do our first burst and push that threshold. So Rain is going to triple bolting. We're going to have Richt. Unfortunately, the boss does have the buff. So Richt can't really do his big burst this turn. He's going to have the moment of weakness, then bolting and hope and trusted. Elena will use her base form LB. 2B will use her shifted LB this turn. We're going to use Malphase's LB, and then we're going to wait on Melissa. So what we're going to do, we're going to click Richt first, wait just a second so that we can get those buffs to be sure they're gone. Then we're going to chain the rest. Elena and Malphase are Extreme Nova, Rain and 2B are triple bolting. So do this, then chain the rest, and then Richt will weave in a little bit of extra damage here as well. Anyway, there is the first threshold. Also probably the damage cap, but the threshold is all that really matters. So Melissa is now going to double bar Darkja to fill LB gauge, and we're going to Uncontrollable Darkness because we are getting people ejected. Melissa and Richt will be ejected. If we hadn't pushed the threshold on turn 3, then Rain would also be ejected. All three of them are full provoke. That way we guarantee leave Elena and Malphase and 2B all here so that Elena can counter. And we are absorbing, so even though Rain is not evasion, it doesn't matter. And this allows Elena to counterfill herself as well as Malphase a little bit. And then we're going to fill the rest of the way with Melissa. Okay, now it is time to do the next final burst. Now we're going to do the maximum damage we possibly can, and we're going to just kill the boss directly from the threshold. So here we go. Melissa is going to double bar, not that one, but double bar Darkja to fill the rest of the LB gauge of the party. And we're going to Seconds of Support on 2B because she double dips on that. It's also going to fill 2B's LB gauge all the way. Base form LB 2B. We're going to LB again Malphase. We're going to use the base form LB of Richt. Now Richt can finally help out with damage. Elena is going to shift at LB. Again, just more damage. And then Rain can triple bolting. Really, the reason Rain here is for the morale fill that he brings. Anyway, we're going to chain these guys up. Wait just a second, then chain the front row. And that should be the end of Podarge. And let's see what kind of damage we deal here. And out of curiosity, we definitely did the damage cap. I can promise you that. How much did we deal, though? 5.2. I've actually done in a test run significantly more damage than that. And just for fun, I'll show you. Here's a screenshot of a test run, 5.7. I think if Variance wants to be really kind to you, you can go as high as 6.0 on the burst turn, on turn 5. But on that run, we did 5.2. We've done 5.7. It can go as high as 6. If you really want to show off, I'm not going to farm the fight just to show off. But there it is. There is a rank 1, 5 turns. Here is the turn, the damage breakdown. And it's kind of funny that Richt did so much, considering Richt didn't even get to burst on turn 4. He had to waste his turn using the cooldown, or the buff removal. And he still did, oh, not the most. Malphase beat him. Anyway, so here's some damage breakdowns for a relatively quick fight. Only 5 turns, only 2 real turns of bursting. There it is, relatively even in the damage breakdowns and stuff, but yeah. So 5 turn clear, rank 1. That was kind of fun to figure out. But yeah, this boss, this boss is the first of the season. Not a whole lot going on with it. Mostly just a gear check, honestly speaking. But here's the team we used. The Espers aren't really super important other than the killers. That's what we used. And then Melissa is passive provoke, evasion. We did have to use the Hero Arrives card to make her a passive provoke. We're not using provocation because I needed to gear 3 people as full provoke, just in case we didn't threshold on turn 3. That way it would have worked out. Anyway, full evasion, passive provoke, and then some morale fill, Peppermint Rod, and then we gave her a Magi Schism for Fairy Rune. If you don't have this, It's not that big a deal. You know, you don't really need it, I don't think. Anyway, 2B in both forms is geared like this. LB damage versus fairies. She is Fairies Demon's Bird. She is maxed on everything. Malphase in the base form is irrelevant. Actually, we actually only stay in the shift form. So we gave her all the best gear because she does get a full powered LB on turns 4 and 5. So we definitely needed her to burst really hard. So she got the best stuff. There it is. There's the setup. I gave her my best card. She's maxed on everything. Richt in the base form is geared like this, 17.2. There it is. Using another good card. And then shift form is using Perfect Provocation. That way he is always ejected on turn 4 because we don't really need him to stick around. Some of the units we need to not be ejected. That way they get the LB fill from Elena's counters. So Richt, we didn't need that, so he's a guaranteed ejector on turn 4. Elena in the base form, high wind resist. We're not using evasion, don't need it. We do need a Blizzard Orb though. Mana reduction, and there we go. Shift form is LB damage versus, you know, all 3 races, and I think she's maxed on everything, and there we go. And then Rain in the base form is Celestite Rod, Treasured Ring, Obsidian Bracer. We didn't actually do the Zanix Smart. I changed that strategy, forget that. Shift form is, you know, damage versus whatever. And we gave him another source of 100% provoke. That way, again, because if we didn't push the threshold on turn 3, then 3 people would be ejected when we bursted on turn 4. So it would have been Melissa, Richt, and Rain guaranteed. That would leave Elena, 2B, and Malphase on the field to get LB fill from Elena's counters, and that was really important. And then we gave him, of course, a morale card, and that's really the big reason Rain is here over like Dwayne or Nora, is because we needed that morale gain to do it so quickly. Anyway, just for fun, turn chart will be in the comments. There's a turn 5 rank 1 with 5.7 or higher for showing off. Okay, see you in a bit.